Painkiller Ghosts, Chapter 34, Lincoln Parks. This is part 1 of 2. This is later that day, a little while ago, and this is how it was. Time and Lincoln had switched jobs on the truck about an hour before the route was over. Lincoln slipped on a rock while trying to ignore a dog and twisted his ankle. Time put on some work gloves and rode on the back of the truck, letting Lincoln drive the rest of the day. He was exhausted by the second block. Time was dizzy by the last few blocks, holding on to the back of the truck with the cold wind hitting him on his face, his eyes watering, his knees shaking in that slap, that powerful slap. How did Link hit the side of the truck so hard? Time feels as if he's broken a finger. His left shoulder burns, his right one is not feeling much better. Lincoln parks the truck in front of Chastity's house. Time continues to hold on to the back for a moment, then slowly hobbles towards the house, followed by Lincoln limping on his ankle. This is a couple hours later now, and this is how it is. Lincoln's truck is parked out front. It's dark now. The street outside is dark. Chastity's house is the only house around with lights turned on. Chastity's baking bacon on a skillet. She says, "It's easier than cleaning the microwave. I just hate all the grease and stuff." She's exhaling smoke. She passes it to Time, who takes it and passes it straight to Lincoln, who inhales, then exhales, and then they do it all over again, twice. He walks towards the popping bacon and passes the joint to Chastity. She takes it as some grease pops and hits her hand, and she yelps as she accidentally drops the joint down into the pan with the frying bacon. Link looks down at the joint frying the bacon and says, "We'll eat it with the bacon after this grease is dried." And then he nods his head repeatedly, with pot smoke still creeping out of his nostrils. There's calm for a minute, a quiet. Chastity and Link are stoned. Time is exhausted, hurting, thinking about a pain pill, tasting it on his tongue, already feeling it spread from his stomach out to the rest of him. His thighs feeling hot, his arms are feeling cold. No one is talking. Bacon is sizzling. Link is smiling down at the frying joint. The grease snaps and Chastity giggles a little. No talking still. Then, from outside, in the dark, a siren is heard, then two. The blinds are pulled in the front window, but are flashing from white to blue to white to red to white to red and then blue, and a third siren sounds. They sound like they are just out front of the house. Sirens on the outside, no one speaking on the inside. Chastity stops giggling. Link is still smiling and smelling the bacon. Chastity turns the burner off. Still no talking. Time knows that Chastity and Link are stoned. He stops, stretching out his shoulder, and goes to the front room and looks through the blinds. Sirens, flashing red and blue lights, uniforms. He glances back towards the kitchen. Link is leaning against the counter next to the bacon, and Chastity is looking towards Time. Time says nothing, so she walks up to the front room and stands next to him. The lights look as if they were right in front of the house, but they're actually down a house or two, just behind Link's truck. And there's a fire truck, an ambulance, and some police cars. Time and Chastity look at each other. He says, "Aren't all those houses empty?" She says, "I thought so, yeah." She smells like pot. Time walks to the front door, opens it, and smells outside. Doesn't smell like a fire. He closes the door, and they walk from the living room to the dining room, and into the other room of the front door. They watch. Police are walking around the two-story house diagonally down the street. The ambulance waits. The fire truck drives off and is replaced by another ambulance. The red and blue police lights are on, but the sirens are off. The ambulances are also silent now. Time smiles when he sees two paramedics smoking cigarettes. They watch through the windows for a few minutes more. Soon they are joined by Link, who is eating bacon with one hand and holding a newly lit joint in the other. Soon, Time and Link don their jackets and go outside onto the front steps. Chastity stays inside, says, "You guys go on outside. I'm not wearing underwear." Time stands, and Link sits on the bricks with his back to the door, smoking the joint casually, occasionally handing it to Chastity when she opens the door and sticks her hand out. She'll shut the door, and a minute later it'll open again, and she'll pass the joint out to Link and say at the same time she's exhaling, "Brrr," and he smiles and takes the joint, and she closes the door. One of the police cars pulls away, and then one of the ambulances leaves, and then a second police car. Chastity's front door opens, and Link hands the joint back in. It's quiet, no talking again. The flashing red lights from the ambulance animate the empty houses all around. The smoking paramedics have gone inside the house. A little while later, the joint is gone. Chastity is no longer opening the front door. She's not looking out the windows. She's on the sofa watching the cable news networks. Then, as Time and Link are watching silently, the front door of the other house opens, and the last officer walks out, followed by one paramedic in front of a stretcher, with the other paramedic at the other end carrying a body under a white sheet. They load the body into the back of the ambulance slowly and close the ambulance door, and both lean against it and simultaneously produce cigarette packs, one from a pants pocket, the other from a shirt pocket. And they then begin to smoke as this policeman says something to them, and then goes to his patrol car and types into his laptop. "Time, I thought you said all those houses were vacant." They are now. It's a little while later, and Time, stone sober, has gone up to the library and has fallen asleep in his sleeping bag. He falls asleep dreaming of the days he used to fall asleep at noon, feeling no pain. Link, meanwhile, has smoked 2 more joints with Chastity, downstairs, flipping through the cable channels. After Chastity fell asleep on the sofa, Link went upstairs to the unused bedroom and fell asleep, his boots hanging off the end of the bed. The next morning brings a breakfast of leftover bacon. Then, after they get their full, Time and Link walk past the still sleeping Chastity and make their way out the front door, making sure to deadbolt it as they go and walk to the truck. Link is still limping a little, so Time says, "You drive, I'll haul and slap." Then Time climbs into the passenger side, and Link walks around the front to his side and shouts, "Freaking face folk!" Time climbs down and walks around to the driver's side of the truck and finds Link cracking his knuckles and muttering to himself under his breath. His truck was parked facing the wrong directions. No one's parked on the street but us, right? The tires on the driver's side are completely flat. Rims are resting on the pavement. There's a slash in the tire. Link and Time walk to the rear tires. The same slashed tires. "Freaking tush trash," Link shouts. It's a couple of hours later, and Chastity is at the grocery store. It's cold, and she's stoned, so she drove the car today. She needs bacon, cheese, and grits. She wants the kind that cooks in 1 minute, not 5. She knows where everything in the store is, so does Time. So she doesn't grab a handbasket. She's walking around with a round container of grits under her left arm, the cheese in her right hand, and her left hand clutching a package of bacon. She's looking around for Erin, but she doesn't see her. She walks up to the woman working there, an older woman who works part-time, and she asks, "Do you happen to know where Erin is?" The older woman stops stocking rice bags, pauses, and says, "No. Do you?" Chastity shakes her head, "No." The older woman continues stocking the bags of rice now, looks to her left, then back to Chastity and says, "We haven't heard from Erin in 2 days. We guess she quit. We hope she's okay. The other manager went by her house and she wasn't there. Her car wasn't there either. Her door was locked and she wasn't there. I guess she just got tired of this here, and she finally quit. I would have hired her if I were her age." Chastity nods her head and says, "Yeah, I guess so." Chastity walks to the checkout aisle and stands in line. She puts her groceries on the floor, picks up a magazine with one hand and 2 packs of gum with the other, and while she slips in her pocket as she puts the magazine back in place and picks up her groceries again. She's a virgin, not an angel. She pays with cash that Link had given her to buy food, asks for a paper bag, drops her receipt on the floor, and walks out the door, looking back towards the office one more time to see if Aaron had popped in. She was planning on asking Aaron to give her the food for free, since Aaron knew Time was living at Chastity's now. She walks out the automatic doors, inhales the cold air, and rushes over towards the car.